story. Depression is on, and all the money is gone. The stores are closed, the stocks are broke, the people are poor, and it is no joke. Dean Barry, age 7. It was Arizona in 1932, the Depression was on. Mother and father were not yet desperate. I was 7 years old, but certain things I can remember clearly. One such recollection was an automobile trip from Phoenix to St. John's, going the other way through Globe and Show Low in the White Mountains. A modern car on today's highway makes that trip in high gear in about 4 hours. It took us 2 days in the Model A Ford, and it required all the gears. We started early in the morning. Father loaded the car while Mother fixed a box of food. They put me, their sleepy boy, on the back seat and covered me with a nice warm quilt. Father was at the wheel as we drove off, and he and Mother were soon building air castles. We turned north at Apache Junction and began the long and tortuous climb up the Salt River Canyon. Our adventures began with a flat tire. Father was in his late 40s then, heavy but still athletic. He moved always with poise and grace, and I watched with admiration as he jacked up the car and changed the tire. It was early spring, and Mother showed me wildflowers just off the road. We were soon on our way again, and Father sang, "When it's roundup time in Texas, and the bloom is on the sage." I understood the song to say there were bloomers on the sage. It took years to get that mental picture out of my mind. The desert scrub soon gave way to juniper and then pines as we climbed higher. We came down to the Salt River. There was no bridge. We had to ford where the water was wide but shallow. Father slowly drove the Model A into the water. He found it was not quite shallow enough, and we were soon unable to go in either direction. Father and Mother laughed at the predicament, and they let me sit on the fender and dangle my feet in the water. It was icy cold, and I didn't dangle them very long. A huge Apache Indian on a giant horse made his way across the river to the car. He had a heavy rope, and Father tied one end to the bumper, and the Indian tied the other to his saddle. With Father driving the Ford in low gear and the horse pulling, we were soon on the other side. Father gave the Indian $5, but I don't believe that he spoke a single word in return. I had no idea that a horse could pull a car, or that an Indian would help people. As we left the riverbank, we saw quail and a wild turkey. To lift our spirits, Father sang, "Ta-ra-ra-ra, boom, and we drove up the steep grade towards the mining town of Superior. There were occasional stands of pine and some patches of snow left from the winter. We had need of that snow when the engine began to overheat. We had to stop the car and let the engine cool with the sides of the hood up. Mother had a kettle, and they used that to melt the snow to refill the radiator. I got to pack my first snowball, but I didn't throw it at anybody. Mother poured syrup on it, and I ate it. When we were on our way again, I wanted to stop at every patch of snow. Mother distracted me by pointing out a herd of deer. Father laughed a lot and sang, "Deanie boy, won't you be my deanie boy?" At Superior, we stopped to have the tire fixed. Mother and I walked to a store where she bought milk and crackers and cheese for our lunch. For 5 cents, she bought a sack of pinon nuts. Piñones. We were soon off for Globe, and I cracked and ate piñon nuts as Father sang, "Hallelujah, I'm a bum." Father didn't know more than one line in any song. It was dark before we could reach Globe. The roads were narrow and were often only dirt tracks on steep and treacherous banks. We stopped by some pine trees and built a campfire. We finished the crackers and cheese and drank warm milk. Mother and Father covered me with quilts, and I soon fell asleep to the sounds of the wind rushing through the pine branches above. At daybreak, Father and Mother were up and ready to go. They had spent the night in the front seat. Warm and content, I watched a chipmunk chattering on the pine branches. With the Model A as accompaniment, Father sang, "Oh, don't you remember, sweet Alice Benbow? Mother sang a harmony part as she and Father held hands. This worried me, for the road was switchback on the sheer mountainside. There were tumbled rocks in the bottom of the canyon below. We did see a mountain lion with his tail lashing back and forth. He was crouched on the embankment above the road, not 20 feet from us. As can happen so quickly in Arizona, we were soon in a pouring rain with thunder and lightning all around. A flatbed truck ahead of us was stuck with one wheel in the soft shoulder of the road. We could have driven around it, but Father stopped and got out to talk with the driver. Soon other cars were there, and all the men got behind the truck and pushed it out while the driver spun the dual rear wheels. All the men seemed happy and laughed as though they were old friends. I had no idea that men could push such a big truck. My father was wet to the skin, but as we made our way onward, he sang, "Show me the way to go home." Mother laughed and said she liked that. Past Globe on the way to Show Low, we had to stop where the road had washed out. The same truck was again stopped ahead of us. Once more, all the men worked together, putting pine branches and rocks in the washout. The truck went first with a mighty spinning of wheels and splashing of mud. Once across, he waited till all the cars had made it safely. Mother wiped the mud from Father's face, and we drove on. Long after dark, we came to St. John's, and Father and Mother sang, "Oh, we ain't got a barrel of money. Maybe we're ragged and funny, but we're traveling along, singing our song, side by side."